Chapter 696. What did you say? The man frowned and looked at her in shock. He scolded her in disbelief. As a judge, how could you allow something like this to happen? What if it affects all the planes? You might not be able to bear the consequences. Although I'm not very satisfied with the results of your test, I didn't think that you wouldn't have any self-awareness as a judge. You don't deserve to be a judge. I actually thought you wanted me to voluntarily give up the power of a judge, to give it to you. Shen Ying's eyes narrowed. She suddenly continued. Or should I say, you want me to die here for the sake of your so-called righteousness? The man paused. His eyes widened. What did you say? I said the reason why you appeared here in the first place. Shen Ying smiled. She still looked nonchalant, but every word that came out of her mouth was shocking. When I said I was a judge, you did not refute my identity. You only emphasized that there can only be one judge, but you could not tell me why. Let me guess. She glanced at the man and continued. There are only two reasons why you can't tell me. First, you really don't know. Second, you can't tell me. If you don't know, then everything you said before must be true. However, for a person who had set up many obstacles for the next judge and personally tested them, it was impossible for him to come to a conclusion so easily without confirmation. But you kept stopping me from leaving, so it can only be the second reason. You can't tell me. His face turned green. Let me guess again. Why can't you tell me? Shen Ying continued to deduce slowly. The reason why he can't say it, he must be trying to hide something. But we're both judges. All the planes in the chaos realm combined are no threat to us. Of course, except for each other. So this reason must be because of me. But before today, we've never met each other. There's no enmity between us. You have no other reason to target me, other than our common identity. His expression darkened. So let me make another bold guess. Shen Ying's expression turned serious. She said in a low voice, You said that there can only be one judge. Maybe it's true. But you can feel this, but I can't. I was suddenly dormant, and then I realized I was a judge. In that case, did you suddenly realize that you were no longer a judge? It's more likely that your power has been fading away. Shut up. He suddenly raised his head and glared at her, a trace of panic flashing through his eyes. Shen Ying did not stop. She said word by word. I'm afraid there was no test at all. You wanted to kill me from the start. That way, he would be the only judge. He sneered, as if he had removed all pretense, and his face was slowly tainted with a look of jealousy and hatred. I've underestimated you. When did you start suspecting me? Shen Ying's expression darkened. Since you attacked my people. He did hide it very well, but he could not hide his murderous intent towards Chef and Lone Moon. It was hard for her not to suspect him. The man was taken aback, and a trace of surprise flashed in his eyes. So you knew from the beginning? He closed his eyes, and when he opened them again, he didn't bother to conceal his killing intent. So now, what do you plan to do? Fight with me? At the cost of all the planes? No. Shen Ying gave him a look like she was looking at an idiot. Why should I fight with you? Don't you want to be the only judge? He blurted out. If you don't fight with me now, aren't you afraid that I'll find a chance to kill you one day? Your power has been fading away. Why should I be afraid of you? She was not the one who would be at a disadvantage if this dragged on. He was no longer her match. You. The man was flustered, but he could not refute her. You keep forcing me to fight. Is it because you can only stop me from replacing you if I agree? Shen Ying laughed softly and pointed out his thoughts. I'm sorry. I really don't want to cooperate with you. With that said, she turned and walked away. She was a little late today. She was so hungry. She wondered if Chef had finished cooking. Stop right there. The man panicked. He tried to pull her back but failed. Shen Ying's guess was right. His power was indeed fading away. In other words, if he did not defeat her this time, perhaps he would never have a chance to win. There were so many planes in the chaos realm. If she really did not want to see him, perhaps when his power completely disappeared, he would not be able to find her again. So this was his only chance to regain his identity as a judge. His expression turned cold. Seeing that he could not trick her, he thought of something and directly threatened her. I can tolerate existences like the Big Tao organization, If you leave, aren't you afraid that I'll attack other planes? I don't care. Shening did not even turn her head. Eating was more important. Don't forget, there are still those 2 assistants of yours who have contracts. It's easy for you to leave, but they are both managers. Their planes cannot run away. Shen Ying's footsteps slowed. Oh right. Seeing that it was effective, the man was delighted. He continued to threaten. You seem to have an older sister who is a monitor in a high-level plane. Perhaps I can start with her first. Shen Ying stopped in her tracks. She did not turn around. Instead, she tightened her grip on the fruit and crushed it. The juices exploded and stuck to her hand. Her voice turned cold. You say that again? Who is she going to attack? The man laughed even more sinisterly. I remember that her plane is not very far from here, right? I wonder how long a monitor like her can last in my hands? Whoosh! Before he finished speaking, several beams of red light flashed around them. Instantly, 4 translucent red light walls rose up, forming a huge box that trapped the 2 of them inside. The man looked at the translucent red light walls that suddenly appeared around him warily. The art of sealing? But he had never seen such an art of sealing. Only then did Shening slowly turn around. Her originally adorable face was filled with a bone-chilling coldness. It was as if one look at her would cause frostbite. There seemed to be some kind of frightening aura coming from her body. In an instant, it filled the entire wall of light. Her anger was mixed with murderous intent. It carried with it an aura that seemed to be able to destroy all living things. Even the man, who was a judge, could not help but feel a chill in his heart. He subconsciously took a step back. But all he heard was the other party's words. I dare you to touch a single hair on my sister's head. The man was shocked. A moment later, he was filled with excitement. He laughed out loud. Ha ha ha. That's right. You have no other choice. Let's see who's better. Then let him take her power as a judge. Otherwise, I'll kill your sister. Pfft. Before he could finish speaking, he suddenly felt a pain in his chest. Shen Ying, who was originally tens of steps away, suddenly appeared beside him. She punched him hard in the chest. He felt immense pain all over his body. That shocking power seemed to be crushing his entire body. Even the energy in his body was shaken, as if it was about to be scattered. His entire body was sent flying. Chapter 697. The man's heart jumped. He somersaulted in the air and stabilized himself. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and looked at the person opposite him. You do have some skills. He had been too careless. But the corner of his mouth lifted to reveal a scheming smile. As long as she made a move, she would definitely lose this battle. In the next moment, his figure swayed, and he disappeared from his original spot. In an instant, a formless energy that did not lose to Shen Ying's pounced towards the man opposite him. It carried with it an aura that seemed to be able to destroy everything. Even the pitch-black chaotic space around them seemed to sense it and retreated far away. The man's voice rang out all around them. I'll let you see what a true judge is like. As soon as he finished speaking, the energy surrounded Shen Ying and began to spin wildly. It was getting tighter and tighter. With every spin, the energy around Shen Ying's body decreased by a bit. He was absorbing her energy. Ha 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 ha. Your energy will also belong to me. I'm the only judge. The man's voice was getting more and more arrogant. The formless energy wrapped around Shen Ying's body tighter and tighter. There was not much energy left in Shen Ying's body. Even the light walls around them were starting to shake. It looked like they were about to collapse. The sharp blade-like force swallowed the energy and attacked Shen Ying directly. With a swoosh, it slashed across the side of her face. A glaring red slid down the side of her face. Shen Ying paused and subconsciously reached out to touch her face. She stared blankly at the unfamiliar red on her fingertips and narrowed her eyes. Her originally cold black eyes seemed to be dyed red. The man's attack was getting more and more ferocious. The surrounding energy was getting tighter and tighter. Shen Ying's energy had been completely absorbed. She was like a lamp that had run out of oil. Finally, the last defense around her body shattered. The violent energy rushed towards her. It looked like it was about to kill her. Suddenly, a glaring red light shone from her body again. It was like thousands of sharp blades. The moment the man's energy rushed towards her, she counterattacked. Thousands of rays of light shot out, as if they were going to pierce through the entire chaotic space. Ah! The man let out a blood-curdling scream, and the surrounding energy began to twist unstably, as if it was being attacked by something. What is this? Impossible, her energy had clearly been absorbed by him. How could there still be? And it could even hit him, who had already turned into pure energy. Before he could think clearly, Shening suddenly reached up and grabbed something. There was nothing in her hand. However, he felt as if his entire body was being squeezed by something. In the next moment, there was a gust of wind, and he felt dizzy. With a bang, he smashed into the wall of light beneath his feet. Ah! The man cried out in pain again. The ball of energy that he had transformed into trembled, as if it was about to be torn apart. This is impossible. How can you catch me? Ah! Shening picked up the ball of gas and smashed it around in a routine manner, producing a series of loud thuds. With each smash, some of the energy that the man had just absorbed would be shaken off. In less than a moment, all the energy that he had just absorbed would be smashed out. The man didn't even have time to react. It was only when he felt that he couldn't even protect his own energy that he thought of resisting. The ball of condensed energy dissipated instantly and retreated. He once again turned into his human form. Compared to the arrogant look he had just now, the man now looked especially wretched. He glared at Shening with a ferocious expression, but a hint of fear flashed across his eyes. I've underestimated you. I didn't think that you'd already grown to such a stage. Even he couldn't completely absorb her energy. He looked at her with fear, then looked at the walls of light around them. Something flashed in his eyes as he said, "However, there's still time. One day, all the energy in your body will belong to me." With that said, his figure flashed, and he turned to rush upwards. He had miscalculated. He didn't dare to attack just like that. It was better for him to leave first. Can you escape? Shen Ying's expression darkened. The surrounding wall of light lit up, and suddenly blocked in front of the man. The man laughed coldly. With a wave of his hand, he released a beam of energy. You think you can stop me with this?" Before he could finish speaking, he heard a sizzling sound. The energy that he released was instantly swallowed up by the wall of light. How is this possible? His eyes widened in disbelief. Weren't these walls of light set up by Shening to prevent their energy from spreading to other planes? How could they possibly block his full-powered attack? Without time to think, Shening raised her hand. Above the wall of light, thousands of beams of red light suddenly shot out. They were densely packed and shot towards the man. Caught off guard, he was hit by one of the beams, and it went straight through his body. He subconsciously wanted to transform into an invisible energy body, but he found that his whole body was sluggish. Something had sealed the energy in his body. He couldn't transform at all. He could only let the red light create bloody holes in his body. Not only that, the energy in his body was leaking out continuously from the wounds. His whole body was like a punctured balloon, leaking energy uncontrollably. This can't be. Why is this happening? My energy. No, don't. He finally panicked. His eyes widened in fear. He frantically tried to cover the wounds on his body, but he couldn't move at all. It was as if something had locked him in place. There was no way he could stop the energy from flowing out of his body. What kind of light is this? His face was pale. He stared at Shening, as if thinking of something. The fear in his eyes deepened. This is not the power of a judge. A judge can't do this. Who are you? Who are you? Shening did not answer him. She only walked towards him step by step. Her face was cold and expressionless. Only her bright red eyes were especially frightening. It was as if they could destroy everything. The man wanted to resist, but he couldn't move at all. He could only watch as she walked closer and closer, until she stood right next to him. Then she reached out and grabbed his neck, lifting him up. She was only grabbing his neck, but he felt as if his whole body was being squeezed by something. Moreover, the grip was getting tighter and tighter. At that moment, he felt as if his internal organs, consciousness, and divine soul were being squeezed by some unknown force. An indescribable pain engulfed him. The man's eyes widened. His face was full of fear. His whole body began to twist and distort. One moment, he became an invisible energy body, and the next moment, He changed back to his original body. No, don't kill me. I was wrong. Please, I beg you. Shenning did not let go. Instead, she tightened her grip. Her eyes narrowed. Suddenly, she leaned closer and said word by word. It doesn't matter how you deal with me, but my sister won't do it even once. As soon as she finished speaking, she tightened her grip and crushed his spirit body. With a bang, the man's distorted body exploded and turned into countless energy particles that scattered everywhere. Chapter 698. Once the man died, a huge shockwave spread out in all directions. Even the chaos space shook. Fortunately, most of the energy was locked inside the wall of light. It did not reach the plane in the chaos space. Shenning raised her hand, and the wall of light shrank into a small red cube. A ball of white energy was locked inside. She looked at it and frowned. Then, she stuffed it into her storage bag in disgust. Only then did the redness in his eyes fade away little by little. Big boss. The parenting system, which had been isolated outside the red wall, and was not affected at all, called out weakly. Big Boss was so scary. Scarier than ever before. Shenning looked up at it. Did you swallow up the main system? Swallowed it up. The parenting system blinked its cartoon eyes. Big Boss had instructed it to do this from the start. After it obtained the physical body, Big Boss promoted it and instructed it to swallow up the other's program after the main system collapsed. That way it would become the new main system. Even if there were scattered subsystems in other planes, Big Boss would be able to control them completely. Reporting, boss. I found a total of 1,568 subsystems scattered across different dimensions. Do you want to recall them now? Oh. Shenning tilted her head, looking uninterested. She raised her hand and opened the plane passage. Let's go home and eat first. So hungry. Yes, Big Boss. No problem, Big Boss. Indeed, Big Boss was still the same Big Boss. As long as it had a leg to lean on, there was nothing to be afraid of. It wasn't afraid at all just now. 3. Chef, slow down. Aya. It hurts. Be more King gentle. How can I slow down at a time like this? I can't take it anymore. Bear with it. Can you bear with something like this? Why don't you go down and experience it for yourself? I know. Just give it to me. You said that half an hour ago. Oh, I'm dying. Shenning, who had just returned. She rubbed her eyes and looked at the two people who were hugging each other not far away. Speaking of which, did she come back at the wrong time? Oh, what are you guys doing? What's with this sudden feeling of being cuckolded? Only then did the two of them turn around. Shenning, Lone Moon exclaimed in shock. The person in front of her flashed and appeared in front of Shenning in an instant. She felt her waist tighten, and then she was hugged. The other party's embrace was a little tight, causing Shenying's already starving stomach to feel even more uncomfortable. However, the hands around her waist were slightly trembling, as if to confirm something. His head was buried in the silky hair at the side of her neck. After a long time, he spoke in a hoarse and aggrieved voice. Master. Shenning was just about to pull his hand away when she stopped. Instead, she gently stroked his back and answered, Are you okay? Lone Moon quickly got up and walked over worriedly. He directly pulled Shenning out of Chef's arms and scanned her from head to toe. He pulled her arm and pinched her face. You're not missing an arm, not broken a leg. You're alive. He heaved a huge sigh of relief, as if the tightened bowstring was finally released. He then glared at her and said, Holy shit, which version of cheat are you? You're okay? One had to know that the person just now was the scariest opponent they had met so far. Otherwise, Shenning would not have sent them back so quickly. This proved that she did not have the confidence to win, but she came back unscathed. You're not forcing yourself, are you? Lone Moon thought of something and his expression changed. Chef also looked nervous. He also looked at her. Master. I'm fine. Shenying's mouth twitched, and she directly took a step back. It's fine if you pinched my face, but why did you directly bite me? Do you want to see if I'm 24K innocent? Master, you said the same thing the last time. Chef frowned directly and became more worried. When a new plane was opened, she also forced herself to hold on for a long time. In the end, she had to enter a dormant period before she showed it. That's right. Lone Moon obviously thought of this too. Your credibility is in the negative now. If something really happens, no, we have to ask Sister Jing to come and take a look. Chef also nodded and suggested. It's too slow to ask her to come over. Let's go over directly. All right, let's go over now. With that said, he directly turned and drew a line. This time, there were no obstacles, and instantly opened the plane gate to the other world. Chef nervously turned back to look at Shuning again. Master should be very weak now. I'll carry her over. Be careful. Remember to lie flat. I'll lift her leg. With that said, Chef directly carried his waist. On the other side, Lone Moon had already lifted her leg. Before Shuning could react, she was already carried into the door by the two like a sack. Thus, a certain person who finally had a day off and was sitting at home drinking coffee looked up. Suddenly, there were two people in disheveled clothes carrying what looked like his own sister on their shoulders. Shuning. Shunjing. Hello 110? Winky face 10 minutes later. Shunjing reached out to take down the detector above Shunying's head. She glanced at the light screen at the side, and then at the nervous Lone Moon, and Chef with some confusion. She then said, other than the increase in fat index, the other data are all normal. She reached out to look at Shunying's stomach. Look, there was even fat. Lone Moon then heaved a sigh of relief. Chef at the side didn't understand. He suddenly stood up and asked even more worriedly, Senior Shen, may I ask if this paper house index is serious? How should it be treated? With that said, he even turned back to look at Shuning with some accusation. Master, something really happened to you. She actually wanted to hide it from them. Lone Moon. Shuning. Shunjing. Senior Shun. Seeing that she didn't answer for a long time, Chef became even more worried. It's okay, she won't die. The corner of Shunjing's mouth twitched. Then she replied, just eat less. Chef was stunned. Only then did he understand what she said. His expression softened a little. What exactly happened? Shunjing frowned and glanced at the three of them. What made you take the risk of me breaking your legs and hurriedly carry Littling here for a checkup? Lone Moon and Chef exchanged a look. Then they both turned to look to the side. For a moment, 3 pairs of eyes were fixed on a certain person. Shuning, who was about to reach for the bag of chips beside her, stiffened. Why don't we talk after dinner? She was really hungry. No, she said resolutely. Her fat index was already high. How could she still eat? Are you guys demons? Then, can the two of you put on your clothes first before asking? Shuning let out a long sigh. It's very difficult for me to speak clearly in front of two people who are only wearing underwear when I'm hungry. Chapter 699. Adjudicator. Shunjing was stunned for a moment and frowned. Elder Sister Jing, you've never heard of them before? Lone Moon asked, slightly surprised. Shunjing shook her head. I've never heard of any judge before. There are uncountable numbers of planes in the primal chaos. Even the existence of monitors, I only know about me and Milu. She turned to look at Shuning. Littling, your ability is special. It far surpasses that of a monitor. Could it be that you're a judge like the person who attacked you? Shuning, who was hugging the bag of chips, looked up. As she ate, she said, at first I thought so too. But after fighting with him, I realized that I might not be one. What do you mean? The three of them paused. Because the other party was too weak. Shuning pondered for a moment. Then, she took out the parenting system from her pocket and poked it. Baby's home. Put down the recording. Yes, big boss. No problem, big boss. The parenting system blinked its cartoon eyes. The entire cube emitted several beams of white light. Instantly, the scene in the room changed. In an instant, the recording of Shuning and the judge's battle in the chaos world was projected. The figures of Shuning and the man appeared in front of them. A moment later, she heard the voice of the other party in disbelief. He asked her who she was, his face filled with fear. After a short while, his body was crushed by Shuning and scattered into pieces. From start to finish, the entire battle took less than 10 minutes. Compared to the crushing opponents that Shening had faced in the past, there was not much difference. The only difference was that she was serious this time. His consciousness has been destroyed. All that's left is this. Shening took out a translucent box and placed it on the table. There was a ball of white energy inside. This ball of energy should be his energy as a judge. Some of it was scattered into the chaos world, and I can't collect it. But I can't analyze this ball of energy. It seems like it's rejecting me. It would be a waste to throw it away. That was why she kept it. Energy rejecting you? Shenjing frowned and turned to look at her. Energy doesn't have sentience. Since the judge's consciousness has been destroyed, why would it still reject you? Lone Moon and I Ching reacted as well. That's right. To put it simply, energy was like eating bread. Although there were all kinds of flavors, they were all meant to be eaten. There was only bread that someone didn't like. How could the bread not agree to let someone eat it? I don't know what's going on. Shening directly reached out and placed her hand on top of the box. Indeed, in a short while the white energy body in the box suddenly made a few crackling sounds. Tiny sparks like lightning drilled out of it and hit her palm, as if it was resisting her approach. It's really rejecting you. Lone Moon received the box with some surprise. He looked at the ball of white energy carefully, then turned to show it to Chef beside him, but he could not see anything special about it. After a while, he suddenly thought of something and said in a low voice, "Could it be that the remnant soul of the Nephilic judge is still hidden in here?" After all, he was a Nephilic judge, who was even more terrifying than a monitor. It was possible that he had a backup plan that they could not see through. As soon as he said that, everyone's expressions changed, except for Shening. It's not impossible. Let me see. Shenjing's expression darkened. She immediately pulled out a screen and scanned the data in the box. Compared to when she checked on Shening, the data this time was pathetically little. There was only the energy, but the value could not be displayed. Shenjing looked at it carefully for a while. The more she looked, the darker her expression became. There's nothing wrong with the data. There's no remnant consciousness either. Logically, there shouldn't be any rejection. I have to do a deeper scan. This way I can't see. As she spoke, she subconsciously reached for the box. Just as she was about to touch it, the entire box lit up. Older sister. Shening was shocked. She reached out to pull her away, but it was too late. The white ball of energy that was originally trapped in the box suddenly rushed toward Shenjing at an extremely fast speed. In an instant it entered her body. In the next moment, Shenjing's entire body emitted a dazzling white light. The entire room was bathed in a snow-white light. A huge wave of energy swept out from her body. Shening was forced to take a step back. Lone Moon and I Ching were sent flying. The sofa, coffee table, tables and chairs around them. Even the ground turned into dust. Everything was about to disappear. It was very likely that the entire plane was going to be sucked in. Shening had no choice but to draw a line in the air. In an instant, she created a space outside the realm and transferred the few of them inside. She also grabbed Lone Moon and I Ching. Older sister. Shenying's expression darkened. She raised her hand, wanting to tear the white light apart and pull them inside. Lone Moon, who was beside her, pulled her back. Wait, Shening. The light is disappearing. Shening paused. Indeed, the white light came quickly and left even faster. In an instant it retracted, along with the energy that had swept away previously. In an instant, it retracted and entered Shenjing's body. Even the white light on her body dimmed. The whole thing happened in less than 2 seconds. If not for the empty box floating in front of her, it would seem that the shocking energy had never appeared. Older sister? Shening looked at her carefully. Are you all right? Shenjing looked at her hands. A rare look of confusion flashed across her face. I think. Shening was just about to step forward when Lone Moon and I Ching's expressions changed. Their eyes widened as they looked at Shenjing in shock. Shening. The aura on older sister Jing's body. What? Shening faltered. Holy shit, can't you tell? Lone Moon was even more shocked. The energy on her body suddenly became so scary. Although it was scary in the past, it was not like now. It made them a little afraid to go near her. Energy. Shenning tilted her head. What's wrong? Was there a difference? Master Senior Shen's aura now. I Ching also spoke up. It's the same as the judge from before. Shen Ying's expression darkened. She looked closely and realized that the energy on her older sister's body had indeed changed. It was just that to her. It was not very obvious. But it did give off some of the feeling of the judge from before. Could it be? Older sister. Shen Jing nodded. She sorted out the large amount of information that suddenly surged into her mind. The energy that you sealed in the box just merged with me. Merged? Then what are you now? Lone Moon could not help but ask. Shen Jing put down her hands and turned to look at the three of them. Then she said in a low voice. I'm the judge now. Shenning. Lone Moon. I Ching. Ha. Chapter 700. Elder Sister Jean, you really became a judge? Lone Moon looked at Shen Jing in disbelief. Shen Jing was emanating a terrifying aura. She was different from the fear they felt before. She was like an unreachable mountain. Just one look at her made them feel like they were going to get lost in the huge energy. If the information I received when I merged the energy is correct, I am indeed one. Shen Jing clenched her fists and frowned. And, just now, I received information from all the planes in the chaos world. This feeling was very similar to when she became a manager. It was as if she could control the life and death of all living things with a single thought. Only that the living things in the past belonged to the entire plane. Now she belonged to all the planes. What happened to the rejection? He and Chef had touched that box before, but they did not merge. Why did Shen Jing merge the moment she touched it? Could it be that the energy was picky? It only picked the strong ones. Oh, #. Wait, that's not right. It should be Shening, shouldn't it? She was the most powerful cheat. Why is it that only you, Elder Sister Jean, can merge with this energy? Lone Moon asked subconsciously. Shen Jing sorted out the large amount of information that suddenly appeared in her mind. Then she explained, it's not just me. As long as a manager can withstand this energy, anyone can merge with it. Then just now, he and Chef had touched it before. Shen Jing glanced at him and changed the topic. To be exact, apart from Shening, everyone can merge with this energy. The only difference is whether they can withstand it or not. The three of them hesitated. What did she mean? Could it be that this energy was not because it liked Shen Jing, but because it despised Shening? This energy is indeed rejecting little Ing. Shen Jing continued. As her assistants, your powers also originate from her. That's why you can't merge with this energy. Why? Shening frowned. There is no consciousness in this energy. She felt it from the beginning. The previous judge's consciousness had completely dissipated. It was impossible for him to control this energy. But why was it rejecting her? It's not the previous judge's consciousness that is rejecting you. Shen Jing turned to look at her and said in a low voice, it's the entire chaos world. Lone Moon. I Ching. Shening. What? Were there not enough people who despised him, including all the people? Oh __. Little Ing, you should have felt it. Your ability is special. Shen Jing sighed and looked at her with uncertainty. Even the current me can't tell where the limits of your abilities are. And in the entire primal chaos, there is no existence stronger than the Nephilic Judge, except for you. Then, Lone Moon looked at Shen Jing, then turned back to look at Shening. Shening, what exactly is she? She. Shen Jing's brows furrowed as if she was thinking about her words. After a while she replied, it should be an accident. What the hell? From what I just learned, her ability, her appearance, and everything else was an accident. A hint of confusion flashed across Shen Jing's eyes. As if recalling something, she sighed and said, she should not have appeared in this world. I was the one who forcefully awakened her. So her birth was an accident. She was originally a normal person, but she completed all my training and became my assistant. It was also an accident that she transmigrated to that plane and obtained extraordinary abilities. It was even more of an accident that she became a manager. Shen Jing took a few steps forward and scanned Shening from head to toe. She continued, everything about her should not have existed, but it does. These small deviations are not a big deal. But the ones who directly or indirectly caused all these changes are me, the monitor, and you two managers. So her situation has exceeded all the rules and expectations. She's not even under the control of the judge. Lone Moon paused. It took him a long time to digest Shinjing's words. In other words, Shening was actually nobody. She was really just a cheat. Winky face, what's up with that judge from before? Shening asked as she pulled out the bag of chips that she hadn't finished from somewhere. She was munching on them. Lone Moon and I Ching paused for a moment. That's right. Even Shinjing, who had just become a judge, knew all this. Then why did that person think that Shening was the judge and come looking for death? Shinjing thought about it. After a while she guessed, he must be blind. The judge is the same as the manager. There is only one judge. Little Ying's appearance may have affected his abilities. He sensed danger. This was a warning from the Chaos Realm. But he mistakenly thought that the Chaos Realm had chosen a second judge to replace him. That was why he wanted to get rid of Little Ying first. How could he mistake something like that? He must be blind. Or perhaps his identity as a judge was also obtained through stealing. That's why he thought that as long as he defeated Little Ying, he could obtain her powers. Steal. Lone Moon and I Ching thought of something at the same time. They exchanged a look and said in unison, "The main system." That's right. They had been chasing after the invading subsystem. That was how they discovered the judge. What's more, he had been trying to stop Shening from destroying it. Now that they thought about it, whether it was the main system or the Heavenly Tao Society that he had hidden, the only similarity between the two was that they could seize power from other planes. Wasn't it? The only difference was the scale. Also, when he was fighting Shening, he purposely provoked Shening to attack him. He even used Shinjing to threaten her. That was why Shening flew into a rage. He needed the other party's consent before he attacked. Wasn't this the same method that the subsystem used to steal the original owner's primary soul? Holy shit. Lone Moon cursed subconsciously. From the looks of it, it was really as Shinjing said. That was probably how the judge from before became a judge. Who knew how many planes he had destroyed? No wonder he had his eyes on Shening the cheat. If that's the case, I Ching thought of something. He turned to Shinjing and said, "That power just now has merged with Senior Shin. Then will you be alright? You don't have to worry about that." Shinjing glanced at the two of them and said, "Becoming a judge is not just about having power. What's important is the recognition of the chaos. If the previous judge really stole other people's powers to become a judge, then he probably hasn't been fully recognized by the chaos. He probably hasn't been fully acknowledged by chaos yet, which is why his power has been flowing away." "Then you dash me?" She suddenly laughed, but there was not much excitement in her voice. Instead, she turned to look at Shening with a strange expression. The corner of her mouth twitched before she said, "That depends on Little Ying." "Shening?" Lone Moon and I Ching exchanged a look. What did this have to do with her? The judge's responsibility is to maintain the balance and stability of all the planes in the chaos. An accident like Little Ying's is naturally the most unstable factor. Yet even the judge can't do anything about her. So the chaos chose the only person who can do anything about her. Shinjing pointed to herself and said word by word, "It chose me to be the judge." Lone Moon. I Ching. This was the reason why Sister Jing became the judge? The kind that specifically countered Shening? Although it sounded like child's play, why did she feel like she was witty? Shening. Son of AB *TCH. Chapter 701. Shening had become a real boss, the kind that even the chaos space could not defeat. Lone Moon was used to being shocked by this. Actually, Little Ying is secondary. Shinjing glanced at a certain person who was munching on potato chips like a rat. She sorted out the information about the chaos space that had just appeared in her mind and sighed. But this judge? Shinjing felt that her new job as a judge was a little difficult. Is it very troublesome? Shening asked subconsciously. She was only dealing with matters between planes. Her job was probably similar to that of a monitor. Nonsense. Shinjing rolled her eyes at them. Although planes rarely come into contact with each other, it's impossible. Although there is very little contact between planes, we can't rule out the possibility of managers or monitors. She seemed to have thought of something and frowned. There are countless planes in the chaos space. I don't know how many more things are waiting for me. In the end, it was all troublesome. In this way, Shening was not a big deal. Actually, the chaos space had too many concerns. Little Ying's ability was indeed special, but Shen Jing knew her character best. She would not do anything that would endanger all the planes. Can't Senior Shen sense the danger in the chaos space? I Ching could not help but ask. Even managers could sense danger in the planes. The judge should be able to too. Shen Jing glanced at him. When I can sense it, it won't be a danger anymore. It was true that she could sense the situation of all the planes in the chaos dimension by closing her eyes. But which bad person would first announce to the world that they were doing something bad before doing something bad? Only when the situation was serious enough would people find out. But by then, it would probably be too late to turn back. Just like when she first became a manager, she was attacked and invaded. By the time Mi Lu, the monitor, sensed that other planes were invading, she had already more or less resolved it. Since she was now a judge, she had to change. Naturally, she did not want the same thing to happen again. But the chaos space was too big, and there was only one judge. No matter how many eyes she had, she could not keep an eye on everything. There would always be something she missed. Sister, why don't you try this eye? Shening suddenly grabbed the parenting system and handed it over. Ding! System. System greets big sister. The parenting system blinked twice before obediently greeting Kieran. Shen Jing took it and saw that the other party was just a program. She subconsciously opened a holographic screen and brought up the other party's data. Suddenly, a row of complicated data flashed across the screen. She only took one look before her eyes widened. This is the self-replicating main system. Wait. Her eyes darkened again. It has awakened its consciousness. Yes. Shening nodded. Although the main body is just a set of data, it is already a special living being. Living beings? What kind of creature? Lone Moon did not understand and could not help but interrupt. Suddenly, he thought of something and his eyes widened. Holy shit. The last time you upgraded it, it didn't directly turn into a spirit, did it? Suddenly possessing a soul or something like that. One must know that the ultimate goal of the invasion of 001, as well as the swarm of beehive-like systems, was to have an independent consciousness, in other words, a soul. According to Shen Jing, the parenting system already existed. You made it sentient? Not me. Shening stuffed the last potato chip into her mouth and turned to dig out Chef's storage bag out of habit. She explained, It's you and Chef. Me. Chef, who was helping to dig out pastries, paused. Yes. She nodded and continued. The two of you are the managers. You acknowledged the existence of the system from the beginning. It was only a matter of time before it developed its own consciousness and had its own soul. Lone Moon and I Ching were stunned. They exchanged a look and then turned around. Indeed, from the beginning, they had never seen the parenting system as a set of programs, even if it had always been possessing Feng Ying's body. But with Shen Ying's real-time little broadcast, they had long known of its existence. Especially after they got that cube, it became even harder for them to link the parenting system to Feng Ying. In addition, it constantly fawned over Shening. Such human-like behavior made them not see it as a string of data, but as an independent entity, or rather, a human. Lone Moon and Chef were both managers. They represented two complete planes. If even they acknowledged the parenting system, then it was indeed normal for it to develop its own consciousness. Suddenly, they wanted to light a candle for the nest of invading systems that had already been completely destroyed. Thousands of other systems had tried their best to invade planes, but still failed. The parenting system actually did it so easily. All their efforts were not as good as a piece of flattery. So flattery was useless in the end? __. Older sister, can this be used? Shening ignored the confused two and asked again. Shen Jing then kept the screen and nodded. Not bad. With this system, it indeed saves a lot of trouble. There were thousands of subsystems connected to this thing, and it could also replicate itself. This was equivalent to having countless eyes, making it easier for her to manage the planes in the chaos. It's just that, its program still needs to be adjusted. There was a problem with the way the subsystems under this system entered each plane. It was considered a direct invasion, and would inevitably affect the plane. But she was a judge. It was not a problem to give it the right to enter freely. As if it had seen through their plan, the parenting system eagerly flew 2 circles around Xinjing. As it flew, it chirped excitedly. System will serve big sister wholeheartedly in the future. Big sister will rule the chaos for thousands of generations. Lone Moon. I Ching. This wasn't a data demon. This was a bootlicker. Alright, come here. Xinjing reached out, and the parenting system landed obediently in her palm. It was a little complicated to modify so many subsystems at once. She had to go back and do it slowly. But she turned to look at Xining. As if recalling something, she frowned. When I became a monitor, I wanted you to replace me as the new manager. Xining paused and subconsciously took a step back. But she heard Xinjing continue. But based on your current situation, it looks like you can't do it. Given how much the chaos was afraid of Xinying's abilities, it probably would not acknowledge her. Phew, that's good. Managing planes was so troublesome. She finally managed to push out 2. I've become a judge. I don't think I can stay in my own plane forever. Naturally, I can't continue to be the manager of this plane. Before the plane's consciousness chooses a new manager, someone has to take care of it first. Xining and Chef exchanged a look. Then very tacitly, they both took a step back and looked at someone beside them. Holy shit. Why are you looking at me? Loman's mouth twitched. He glared back at them. The 2 of you are so deceitful. Not only did you dump 2 planes, you want to dump a 3rd one? Scram. Chapter 702. In the end, Lone Moon did not take over that plane. After all, Xinjing still had an assistant there. Although Xinjing despised Kaitian, he had worked there for so many years. Apart from Xining, he was the person who was most familiar with that plane. Before a new manager appeared, it was still possible to manage the plane temporarily. At most, the workload would increase by 3 times. Xinjing accepted the position of judge very quickly. She did not hesitate and accepted it. Lone Moon felt that it was partly because of Xining, and partly because of her previous experience. Xining had mentioned a few times that when she was young, she was often attacked by invaders. They had all experienced Xinjing's strength. Those invaders could not defeat Xinjing, so they could only attack Xining. And to be able to attack under Xinjing's nose, that kind of invader was probably at least at the level of a manager. Back then, in order to protect Xining, she had to guard the plane. The hardships were unimaginable. Therefore, she had always detested the vicious battles between planes. Xinjing was different from the previous judge. The previous judge's existence was not even known to the monitors. They only operated behind the scenes. Xinjing, however, immediately contacted and broadcast to all the monitors, announcing her existence. The main idea was simple. Don't mess around, or I'll mess with you. Although this might be a little dangerous, there would always be people who thought highly of themselves and wanted to provoke her. But given Xinjing's abilities, no one could defeat her. And her only weakness, Xining, was even more difficult to provoke than her. That was why there was no need to hide at all. As for the parenting system, it had already been officially renamed Chaos Surveillance System. Its main purpose was to help Xinjing travel between different planes and collect information from different planes. That way, Xinjing could discover and solve problems faster. In the past, the system had been an illegal invasion, but now it was open and above board. With the authorization of the adjudicator judge, the system had even collected countless passes from the various planes. Furthermore, the system didn't need to possess any host at all. Of course, Chef and Loman's plane were the first to issue the passes. As for Feng Ying, the parenting system carefully copied a subsystem and told them to bring it back. In any case, the system had been taking care of him for many years. Now that he was going to be separated, it had to find someone to take his place. Xining and the other 2 did not stay there for long. After watching Kaitian for a while, they quickly returned to their own plane's divine realm while Shen Jing was busy modifying the system's data. If he didn't leave now, he probably wouldn't be able to. Lone Moon strongly condemned the master and disciples' initial reaction of wanting to sell out their father. He even claimed that he would deduct 3 months' worth of food expenses and let them reflect on their actions. So hungry. Shening rubbed her ears that were getting calluses from Father Nio's nagging. She then patted her flat belly. Why don't we eat first before reflecting on ourselves? Yes, master. Eat your sister. Without waiting for Chef to finish, Lone Moon roared. He was still in a state of anger and directly rejected the feeding request. Is this F*King reflection? He turned around and glared at the two of them. Eat, eat, eat. Eat until you die. Let's go back to Invincible Sect first. She had just eaten 3 bags of potato chips, 5 plates of pastries and 6 fruits. Are you a freaking bottomless pit? But, no buts. Lone Moon turned and conjured a seal to open the door. Just as he was about to enter, Chef suddenly reached out and stopped him. Father Nio. What? Lone Moon was still angry. He directly glared at him. Still trying to trick him? As Chef dug out the food for Shening, he replied calmly, Assistant Seal. Lone Moon was stunned for a moment. Then, as if recalling something, he turned back to look at the 2 plain trees at the side. He didn't know if it was an illusion, but he kept feeling that the originally short purple tree seemed to have lost its nutrients. For no reason, it felt a little listless. The plain trees won't last much longer. Chef reminded again. Shit. Only then did he seem to recall something. He replied, got it. With that said, he turned and glared at Shening. It's all your fault. Shening. Meow meow meow. Oh. Lone Moon, however, walked straight back. Suddenly, he reached out and grabbed Chef's collar, pulling hard. With a tearing sound, the clothes in front of Chef's chest were instantly torn apart, revealing a large area of his wheat-colored chest. Chef was caught off guard. His body swayed from the pull. Why are you moving around? Lone Moon said in an unfriendly tone. Chef immediately stood still. Not only did he not resist, he even moved forward a little. Shening. What the hell? Was he planting grasslands in front of her? Then should she not stop him? Or should she not stop him? On the other side, Lone Moon had already reached out to touch Chef's chest. His palm pressed on the position of his heart. He pressed hard and retracted it after a while. A white light flashed. A trace of black mark floated out from Chef's chest. It gathered in Lone Moon's palm and formed a small semicircle. It looked a little familiar, especially that familiar aura. That mark only stayed in Lone Moon's palm for a while. Then it directly burrowed into his body. Instead, Chef at the side seemed to be hit by something. His expression was a little ugly. His body swayed, and he took a few steps back. Shening frowned. She reached out to help him. What is this? What else can it be? The assistant seal that you gave us back then. Lone Moon set up a recovery array beside Chef. Assistant seal? Shening hesitated. Yours? Why was half of Lone Moon's assistant seal in Chef's body? It's all because you lied to me. Lone Moon rolled his eyes at her. As he activated the array, he said, You pushed Chef and me back without saying a word. Then you sealed the plane. We were worried that something would happen to you. There was no other way. That's why we thought of transferring 2 sets of assistant seals to one person. It's better than helping you. Who knew that she would come back when they were only halfway through the transfer? A cheat was indeed a cheat. Oh, so when they just came back, they were not planting grasslands. They were transferring the assistant seal. We are managers. Our power is connected to the plane. Lone Moon pointed at the plane tree beside him that had become energetic again. The assistant seal cannot be transferred for too long. Otherwise, it will affect the plane. That was why he hurriedly took it back. He turned to look at Chef's expression. Seeing that he had adjusted his breathing, he then retracted the array on the ground. He turned to open the transportation tunnel. All right, stop wasting time. Let's go back. Shen Ying's expression fell. Were they really not going to eat? Chef continued digging into his storage bag. He lowered his voice and said, Master, I just transferred a lot of ingredients from Senior Shen's fridge. We can cook once we get back. Shen Ying's eyes lit up. She patted I Ching's shoulder hard. Good chef. The two then followed into the transportation tunnel. Lone Moon turned back to glance at the sly master and disciple. He wanted to say something. After a while he did not say anything. Forget it. If preaching was useful, he would not be father. Sigh, he was already used to it. Thinking about it, ever since he met Shining, he was a proper businessman. He actually went in the direction of lying to the gods. More importantly, he was still that father. With a woman like this, what could he do? He was also very desperate. But now that Shenjing was a judge, at least there would not be any blind supervisors or managers who would come and invade their plane. They could finally have peace for a while. Coupled with Shenying's accident, they had nothing to fear. Come to think of it, the three of them had not returned to Invincible Sect for a long time. They thought that it would not take long to deal with an invader. They did not expect so many things to happen. In addition, after entering the chaos, time flowed differently. They did not know how much time had passed. Fortunately, everything was settled. It was time to go back. Tian-E must have arrived at Invincible Sect now. Invincible Sect's production of pills could double again. Ens was shumming that silly boy. He did not know if he had ascended. He still felt like he had forgotten something. Forget it. Not important. The unimportant little Biao. What happened to bringing back his scales? Didn't they say they would bring back his scales? For all. The end of the book. Chapter 703. Ever since Shen Jing sent out that notice to the entire plane, whether it was an illusion or not, the invasions of Chef or Loneland's plane were obviously much less. Seeing that the few of them had nothing to do, they did not stay long in Invincible Sect, and returned to the Divine Realm. Lone Moon had long handed over the matters of the sect to Yu Hong and the rest. Although they refused to take over the position of sect master, in actual fact, the things they did were already no different from a sect master. It was just that the thinking of the brainless fans made them feel that only Shining could be called a sect master. Lone Moon had originally planned to drag these two troublesome fellows to his own plane to help. There were no more invasions, but his plane was still a new plane. Even the heavenly Tao had just been born not long ago. There were always some imperfections in the rules, and there were always unexpected situations waiting for him to deal with. Although Hong Meng, Fatty, and Rabbit Mushroom were quite capable, there were still some things that the manager had to do personally. Lone Moon originally thought that Chef was also a manager, and could at least help a little. If he really couldn't do it, he could just copy the rules on the other side to make up the numbers. As for Shining, forget it. But when he really started, he realized that although the two planes looked similar, there were still many differences. For example, like the sorcery system, some sorcery that could be used on the other side might not be suitable here. There would always be some differences in effect, function, or casting method. He suddenly remembered that Shenjing said that every plane was unique. It seemed that they were indeed different. The set that he originally wanted to copy and paste couldn't be used at all. He could only slowly modify it, and he could only do it himself. So when he finally had some free time, he began to busy himself again. On the other hand, Chef and a certain foodie had completely entered the mode of eating and sleeping and eating like pigs. That's right, Lone Moon was the old man being eaten. Even Chef was holed up in the kitchen all day long, either cooking or on his way to cook. The entire Divine Realm was filled with the fragrance of his cooking. That smell was simply amazing. Even Fatty, who occasionally came to report work, couldn't help but ask for an extra bowl of white rice. He silently squatted at the side and ate. This squatting, even Hong Meng, an ancient god who had been abstaining from food for God knows how long, shamelessly asked for a bowl and squatted beside Fatty. Then even Rabbit and Mushroom followed suit and asked for white rice. They squatted in an especially neat row. In the beginning, he would only come once in a while, but later on, he would report every day. The scene suddenly became strange. In front of Shining and the other two was a table full of fragrant delicacies, while 4 people stood beside them, holding bowls of rice, drooling and eyes glowing. Perhaps Shining was a little flustered by their hungry wolf-like gazes. Subconsciously she said, "Together? Sure." For seconds. Thus, they naturally went to the table, and were given 1 or 2 vegetarian dishes. At first, Lone Moon didn't think much of it. Later on, he realized that something was wrong. Chefs had always been like feeding pigs when they cooked. Shining, this foodie, was a bottomless pit. Therefore, they had to eat for at least 2 hours for each meal. 3 meals a day would take up to 6 hours. With the increase in the number of people, the time for meals would naturally increase accordingly. 2 hours a day meant that they had to spend 8 hours a day eating. As a good businessman, he had always approved of the 8-hour working day. In this way, he was the only one who worked hard every day. As for the other 4 people, they only cared about eating their meals. Lone Moon felt that his entire being was not good if this went on. Thus, he forcefully canceled their meals and dragged the 4 out of the divine realm. He even restricted their access and allowed them to come and freeload. He turned and glared at the 2 innocent wastrels. It was fine if they didn't help, but they were even holding him back. Did they forget who was paying them for their meals? Yet the 2 nibbling on the elders' clan didn't seem to notice. Especially Chef. With a few fewer people to feed, he spent the extra time researching new dishes. He completely forgot his identity as a sword cultivator. From time to time, he would bring new dishes for Lone Moon to try. Father Neo, I've seen this kind of pastry in Elder Shun's plane. But Master doesn't like sweet things, so I changed it to spicy. Do you want to try it? Lone Moon glanced at the plate in his hand. The corner of his mouth twitched. Suddenly, he wanted to stab him with his sword. Get lost. Do you think I can't tell? Whose cake has a spicy flavor? This flavor doesn't work? He had only seen it once. You're good. Try it yourself. Oh. Only then did Yi Qing put away the cake in his hand with a look of disappointment. With a turn of his hand, a flame ignited and instantly burned the cake clean. Lone Moon. Damn it. He didn't even dare to try it himself. That's why he gave it to him. That's definitely it. K. Chef had already turned around and started to work on the various ingredients on the baking table again. His expression was relaxed and happy. He was just short of humming a little tune. Moreover, compared to before, his expression lacked the natural sense of vigilance. Perhaps it was because there weren't any invasions during this period, and the plane was stable. He was really too relaxed. He didn't have any sense of danger at all. Lone Moon looked down at himself, who was exhausted. Then, he turned to look at a certain person who was slumped on the chair like mud. He couldn't help but want to find trouble. Chef, it's not appropriate for you to be so relaxed, right? Chef had just picked up the pot when he paused. He said in confusion. But there are no invaders now. There's Shorty watching over the plane. There's nothing to be nervous about. What's more, Elder Shen is a judge. There probably won't be any problems in the future. There shouldn't be anyone stupid enough to take the initiative to bump into them, right? Oh. Lone Moon picked up a pastry from the stove and stuffed it into his mouth. What about you and Shining? Don't you have any plans? Master. He turned back to look at Shining, who was sitting on the chair outside. His gaze softened. He turned into a dog food machine, throwing out dog food. As long as Master is by my side, I have nothing else to ask for. Lone Moon suddenly felt that the pastry in his hand was a little stuffed. He subconsciously covered his eyes. Damn it, he wanted to burn them to death. He scanned Chef from head to toe and couldn't help but remind him. I'm asking you, when do you plan to settle down with Shining? Based on your current situation, are you sure you can get past Sister Jing? His face turned snow white. The hand holding the pot trembled, and it fell with a clang. Even the true phoenix fire below went out with a bang. Holy shit. Don't tell me you just remembered this now. You couldn't even beat Xin Jing when she was a monitor. Are you sure you can beat her now? Why are you looking at me? I can't help it. You know how Xin Jing is a siscon. She'll definitely beat you to death. Don't be like this. It's useless no matter how many circles you draw on the ground. Shut up. Wait. Why are you holding the sword? Holy shit, let go of me. I don't want to be a training partner for a pervert like you. Damn it, he shouldn't have exposed him. Chapter 704. Compared to Lone Moon's new plane, Invincible Sect really had nothing to worry about. Yu Hong and the others, who had joined the sect the earliest, had all become exalted immortals. Especially Siyu. Although she was shy, She had the highest level of enlightenment among all the disciples. Naturally, her cultivation was also the strongest. She had successfully ascended to become a young emperor, and was even close to becoming an immortal emperor. In addition, she was a body cultivator. Even if she were to compete with the celestial emperors of the various continents, she would be able to fight them. As for Tian, who had just ascended not long ago, he did not know if it was luck that the continent he ascended to was in the Bo Sea. With the disciple token that Lone Moon gave him, he actually found his way to the invincible heavenly palace. Since he only focused on alchemy, Yu Hong assigned him to Boss Lan and the Drifter. She asked him to learn alchemy from the two of them. After all, he had just ascended, and his alchemy skills in the lower domain were no longer useful. He had to learn all over again. Fortunately, Invincible Sect lacked everything except immortal herbs. In addition, he was indeed a natural alchemy cultivator, so he improved rapidly. Boss Lan was very pleased. After teaching him twice, he directly threw some low-level elixir recipes and orders to him to practice. Tian was a little nervous about this at first. After all, no matter how low-level elixirs were, the ingredients were all immortal herbs. Moreover, he was an earth immortal who had just ascended. He could not be too wasteful. Until he was refining a furnace of first-level elixirs, and the furnace exploded more than 10 times. He thought he would be punished, but Master Lan turned and threw him a key to the immortal herb storeroom. Here, go and get the immortal herbs yourself. I can't be bothered to give them to you every time. Then, with a nonchalant expression, he turned and followed the immortal called Radish out with the pot to water the plants. Tiani felt extremely guilty. After thinking about it, he still told Master Drifter about this. He felt uneasy about wasting so many immortal herbs. Moreover, when he came looking for them, he had asked around. Invincible Sect was the heavenly palace of the celestial emperor of the entire Bo Sea continent. After the celestial emperor of the Bo Sea took office, he had never recruited disciples from outside. Moreover, he joined Invincible Sect because of the jade token that Lone Moon gave him. Although he did not know why Brother Lone Moon had it, he could not implicate him. Upon hearing this, the Drifter took out a dandelion-like fairy plant and stuffed it into his hands mysteriously, saying, "Why don't you try adding this to the ingredients? It can increase the success rate of making pills. And I'm sure the furnace won't explode." She added, "Just don't let Radish see it." Tian. No, he was here to ask for forgiveness, not to increase the success rate of pill formation. Moreover, the stalk of immortal herb in his hand was a peak-grade immortal herb. It looked even more precious than the ones in the back mountain. Why did he casually take it out for him, to refine a Tier 1 immortal pill? How can you be so wasteful? Tiani had no choice but to report this matter to the managing elder, Elder Immortal Yu Hong. She was the eldest senior sister of the sect, and was in charge of the entire sect. It would not be wrong to report to her first. Indeed, Elder Yu Hong frowned after hearing this. She subconsciously tapped her fingers on the table a few times. After thinking for a while, she glanced at Tiani again. After a while, she took out another key and handed it to him. She said, "There are indeed too few low-level immortal herbs in the sect's storage. Why don't you use the 4th or 5th level ones first? If you really can't do it, the 6th or 7th level ones will do too." With that said, she stuffed the key into his hands. Tiani, huh? No, he was not complaining about the immortal herbs. He was not here to ask for immortal herbs. Did you guys get the point wrong? Junior brother Tian, all the best. Before he could finish, Yu Hong patted his shoulder and said earnestly, "Learn to refine pills well. If there's anything you don't understand, just ask Boss Lan. He has plenty of time." "No, Elder, listen to my explanation. Don't worry. Although our sect is poor, I will ask the disciples to look for the low-level immortal herbs you need from Celestial Emperor Biao. We will definitely have enough." "No, I'm really not here to ask for immortal herbs. Let's do it. The sect's storage of immortal stones is already not enough. 200%. Why don't we expand our sales to the demonic realm?" "Stop it. What happened to the saying that immortals and demons could not coexist?" "Wait a minute. Why did he feel that? The way Elder Yu Hong earned money looked so familiar. Yet he could not remember. But from then on, Tianyi finally understood. To the immortals of the various continents, the immortal herbs that were treasures were nothing in their invincible sect. As a money-burning pill cultivator, he was already used to lacking ingredients for a long time. The feeling of getting rich overnight was too shocking. He felt that he needed a long time to get used to it. But before Tianyi could get used to it, in less than a month, Invincible Sect welcomed a newcomer. 2 bucks will finally ascended. Time flowed differently in the immortal realm and the lower realm. Although only a month had passed in the upper realm, thousands of years had passed in the lower realm. And 2 bucks did not ascend alone. When he ascended, he brought along the publicly acknowledged good demon, who had stayed in Guiyi sect for thousands of years and refused to leave Little Mo-san. Ever since Shen Ying and the others left, Little Mo-san did not dare to get up. At first, the people of Guiyi sect were a little afraid. After all, he was a demon and a skyfiend at that. But after a while, they realized that he seemed to grow there. He did not move at all. Guiyi sect slowly let down their guard. But he carried demonic qi. Although he did not attack, it still affected the surrounding environment. At first, only the flowers and plants within a few feet of him withered. Slowly, it affected all the spirit herbs on the entire floating peak. Not a single blade of grass grew within a few miles. The Guiyi sect master was about to cry. They were a pill cultivator sect. So what if they could not grow spirit herbs? But no matter how others tried to persuade him, he refused to get up. The look in his eyes said, "Don't you think you can lie to a smart demon like me?" And he knelt for more than 100 years. The spirit herbs in the sect were almost all dying. 2 bucks, who was already a nascent soul, could not help but trick him. "I say, little San, you can't keep kneeling here. A compassionate person like Miss Shun would definitely want to see you help more people and do more good deeds. Who knows, she might be happy and forgive you." "Really?" Little Mo-san hesitated. He was a little tempted. 2 bucks continued to trick him a few more times. Only then did he get up doubtfully. From then on, he really followed 2 bucks and did good deeds to uphold justice. Perhaps because of his identity as a demon, he played a very good role in leading the way. Once he did good deeds, even those evil fiendish cultivators in the past began to slowly turn over a new leaf. After all, the demon race was the ultimate goal of all fiendish cultivators. They needed to do good deeds. That proved that their previous cultivation methods were wrong. Therefore, under Little Mo-san's leadership, the cultivators of the orthodox and fiendish sects, who were originally like fire and water, actually began to communicate and work together. The two sects were unexpectedly harmonious. Until Zhou Shuyuan ascended, there were no major conflicts. To prevent Little Mo-san from being tricked by him and kneeling back to Guiyi sect to harm those spirit herbs, 2 bucks also brought him up to the upper realm when he ascended. Little Mo-san also brought 2 bucks to Invincible sect. He said that he was going to ask for forgiveness from the gods. In the thousands of years of cultivation in the lower realm, 2 bucks did not go astray. He was still an upright sword cultivator. The moment Yu Hong saw him, she knew that he was taught by Elder Lone Moon. She directly led him into the sect, and even threw him to her juniors to train. And he was an earth immortal. Coincidentally, the disciples were lacking sparring partners. As he trained, his cultivation increased. Sword cultivators should be very durable, right? 2 bucks. Wait, senior sister. I don't have an immortal sword yet. Can you give me a sword before we start fighting? Cut the crap. Fight. Senior brother. I'm just an earth immortal. Even a sword cultivator can't take a full blow from a mystic immortal. Put down your sandbag-sized fist. It's okay, junior brother. You won't die. Senior sister, what are you doing? I can't beat you even if you don't transform. I'm respecting my opponent. Wait, don't help. 2 bucks started to seriously doubt his life. Especially when he saw Tianyi, who was perfectly fine. All he had to do was squat in the alchemy room, with a 5th level immortal herb in his left hand, and an 8th level immortal lotus in his right. He even had the urge to escape to the lower realm. Speaking of which, was it too late to change to a pill cultivator now? The correct chapter of Master Disconnected Again will continue to be updated on Green Bean Novel website. There will be no advertisements on the website. Please bookmark and recommend it to Green Bean Novel website. You're tuning in to the Lee May's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.